Maya Foster's hands trembled slightly as she stared at the dating app on her phone, the cursor blinking over the submit button like it was mocking her inability to commit to this one simple action. She had promised herself on New Year's Eve, standing alone on her apartment balcony, watching fireworks explode across the Chicago skyline, that this would be the year she actually tried to find love instead of letting another 12 months slip away, while she buried herself in work at the botanical garden where she managed greenhouse operations. Taking a deep breath, she pressed submit and her profile went live. There. Done. No going back now. The photo she had chosen showed her in the greenhouse, sunlight streaming through the glass panels, dirt smudged on her cheek as she held a thriving orchid she had nursed back to health. Her best friend Rachel had insisted it was perfect because it showed who she really was, not some filtered version of herself in a club or restaurant. Within minutes, her phone started buzzing with notifications. Maya felt her stomach clench with anxiety as she scrolled through the profiles of men who had already liked her. Most seemed normal enough, but something about the whole process felt overwhelming. She was about to close the app when one profile caught her attention: Yates, 32. The photo showed a man with dark hair and striking blue eyes, casually dressed in a simple black shirt. His smile seemed genuine, not the overly posed expression she had seen on so many other profiles. His bio was refreshingly straightforward: investment consultant. Enjoys hiking, raiding, and trying new restaurants. Looking for something real, not games. Maya studied his face for a long moment, feeling an inexplicable pull toward this stranger. Before she could overthink it, she swiped right. The screen immediately lit up with the words, "It's a match." And her heart jumped. A message appeared almost instantly. "That orchid in your photo looks like a phalaenopsis. Am I right?" Maya felt a smile spread across her face as she typed back. "You know your plants, I'm impressed. I had a phase where I tried to keep orchids alive. Failed miserably every time. What's your secret? Patience and attention. They tell you what they need if you know how to listen." That sounds like good life advice in general. They messaged back and forth for over an hour, the conversation flowing so naturally that Maya forgot to feel nervous. Yates asked thoughtful questions about her work at the botanical garden, and she found herself genuinely curious about his perspective on things. When he suggested meeting for coffee that weekend, she agreed without hesitation. The coffee shop he chose was a small, independent place in Lincoln Park, the kind with mismatched furniture and local art on the walls. Maya arrived 5 minutes early, her palms sweaty despite the cold January air. She had changed her outfit 3 times that morning, before settling on dark jeans and a forest green sweater that Rachel assured her brought out the gold flecks in her brown eyes. When Yates walked through the door, Maya felt her breath catch. He was taller than she had imagined, probably 6'2", with broad shoulders and an easy confidence in the way he moved. But it was his smile when he spotted her that made her heart race. It reached his eyes, creating small crinkles at the corners that somehow made him even more attractive. "Maya," he said, extending his hand. His grip was firm and warm. "It's great to finally meet you in person. You too." She was grateful her voice came out steady. "Thanks for picking such a cozy place. I figured we could skip the usual loud restaurant scene. I actually want to be able to hear you talk." They ordered their drinks and settled into a corner table by the window. The conversation picked up right where their messages had left off, but with the added dimension of body language and voice inflection. Yates leaned forward when she spoke, giving her his complete attention in a way that made Maya feel like she was the only person in the room. When he laughed at something she said, it was a genuine sound that came from deep in his chest. "So investment consulting," Maya said, wrapping her hands around her latte. What does that actually mean day to day? Yates paused for just a fraction of a second, something flickering across his face that Maya could not quite read. I help people make smart decisions with their money. Portfolio management, market analysis, that kind of thing. It pays the bills. You enjoy it, parts of it. I like the problem-solving aspect, the strategy. But honestly, I find the people I work with more interesting than the numbers themselves. He tilted his head, studying her. What about you? What made you fall in love with plants? Maya laughed. That's a very direct question. We could keep making small talk if you prefer, but I'd rather skip to the real conversation. She appreciated his honesty. My grandmother had this amazing garden when I was growing up. I spent every summer with her, learning how to coax life from seeds, how to understand what each plant needed. She used to say that tending a garden taught you everything you needed to know about relationships. Nurture, patience, knowing when to give space and when to step in. Was she right? About the garden part, absolutely. About relationships, Maya shrugged, still figuring that one out, hence the dating app. Yates's expression softened. New Year's resolution. Is it that obvious? Only because I did the same thing. Stood on my balcony on New Year's Eve and decided I was tired of letting work consume everything. Life's too short to keep putting off the things that actually matter. They talked for 3 hours, until the barista started pointedly cleaning tables around them. When they finally stepped out into the cold evening air, Maya was surprised to realize the sun had already set. I had a really great time, Yates said, his hands tucked into his coat pockets. Would you want to do this again? I'd like that. How about dinner next week? There's this Italian place in River North I've been wanting to try. Maya agreed, and they parted ways with a brief hug that left her feeling warm despite the winter chill. As she rode the train home, she could not stop replaying moments from their conversation. The way his eyes had lit up when she talked about rare plant species, how he had remembered small details she had mentioned in their messages. Rachel called the moment Maya walked through her apartment door. Well, how was it? Tell me everything. It was good, really good actually. I need more than that. Was he hot, boring, serial killer vibes? Maya laughed, kicking off her shoes. He was charming and thoughtful, and we talked for hours without any awkward silences. He's taking me to dinner next week. Look at you, actually dating. I'm so proud. What does he do again? Investment consultant. Ah, finance guy. Well, as long as he's not one of those crypto bros, I'll allow it. Their second date was even better than the first. The Italian restaurant was intimate and romantic, with candles on every table and an extensive wine list. Yates had made reservations weeks in advance, he explained, but had not had anyone he wanted to take until now. The comment made Maya blush. Over pasta and wine, they dug deeper into each other's lives. Maya learned that Yates had grown up in Connecticut, that his mother had died when he was young, and that his relationship with his father was complicated. He spoke about it matter-of-factly, but she could hear the old pain underneath his words. What about you? Yates asked. Are you close with your family? My parents are great. They're both teachers, retired now. They live in Michigan, so I don't see them as often as I'd like, but we talk every week. My grandmother passed away 5 years ago. I still miss her every day. Yates reached across the table, covering her hand with his. The gesture was simple but sent electricity through her entire body. She'd be proud of you, I think. What you've built with your career. I hope so. Maya turned her hand over, lacing her fingers through his. Sometimes I wonder if I've focused too much on work and not enough on building a life outside of it. From what I can see, you've built something pretty amazing. You're passionate about what you do, you care about making things grow and thrive. That's not something to apologize for. They lingered over dessert, neither wanting the evening to end. When Yates walked her to her car, he paused before she could open the door. "I know it's only been 2 dates," he said, "but I really like you, Maya. This feels different than anything I've experienced before." "I feel it too," she admitted. He leaned in slowly, giving her plenty of time to pull away if she wanted. When his lips met hers, it was soft and tentative at first, then deeper as she responded. Maya's hands found their way to his chest, feeling his heart beating as rapidly as her own. When they finally broke apart, both were slightly breathless. "I've wanted to do that since the coffee shop," Yates murmured. "Worth the wait, absolutely." Over the next few weeks, they fell into an easy rhythm. Dates turned into regular occurrences, 2 or 3 times a week when their schedules allowed. Yates never seemed to have trouble getting away from work, which Maya found refreshing. So many of her previous attempts at dating had ended because the men were married to their jobs, unable to prioritize anything else. She introduced him to her world, taking him to the botanical garden on a quiet weekday afternoon. Watching him move through the greenhouses, genuinely interested in what she showed him, asking intelligent questions about the plants and conservation efforts, made her fall for him even harder. "This is incredible," Yates said, standing in the tropical room surrounded by palms and flowering vines. "You get to work here every day. I manage operations, so a lot of my time is spent in meetings and dealing with logistics, but I always make time to come check on my favorites." She led him to a small alcove where a rare climbing orchid was blooming. "This is new. We just got her to flower for the first time in 3 years. It's beautiful." But Yates was looking at Maya, not the orchid. She felt heat rise to her cheeks. "You're not even looking at the plant. I'm looking at something more beautiful." Maya rolled her eyes even as she smiled. That was incredibly cheesy. Did it work? Maybe a little. He pulled her close, kissing her beneath the canopy of tropical plants, and Maya thought she might be falling in love. But there were moments, small ones, when she wondered if Yates was holding something back. He never invited her to his place, always suggesting they meet somewhere or coming to her apartment. When she asked where he lived, he was vague, mentioning a building downtown. His phone rang frequently during their dates, calls he would glance at and decline without explanation. And once, when they were walking through the city, a woman in an expensive suit had stopped dead in her tracks, staring at Yates with wide eyes before he quickly steered Maya in the opposite direction. "You know her?" Maya had asked. "Must have confused me with someone else." It was not quite a lie, but it was not the full truth either. Maya told herself she was being paranoid. Everyone had parts of their past they were not ready to share. She had certainly not told him everything about her previous relationships, the heartbreaks that had made her so cautious about opening up again. But as January turned into February, the inconsistencies started to add up. Yates always paid for everything in cash, never using a credit card. He was knowledgeable about subjects that seemed beyond what an investment consultant would need to know, casually dropping references to private art collections and international business dealings. Once, when Maya had Googled investment consulting firms in Chicago, trying to surprise him with lunch at his office, she realized she did not even know the name of his company. "Where do you work exactly?" she asked one evening over dinner at her apartment. She had cooked, wanting to create an intimate space where they could really talk. Yates took a sip of wine, and she saw that flicker of hesitation again. "Zimmer and Associates. It's a small firm, pretty private client list." Maya nodded, but something in his tone made her uncertain. She wanted to push further but was afraid of what she might find. Things between them were so good. Did it matter if he was being slightly evasive about work details? "Have you ever Googled me?" Yates asked suddenly. The question caught her off guard. No, should I? I don't know. Most people do these days. He set down his wine glass, his expression serious. Would it change anything if you found something unexpected? Like what? A secret family, a criminal record? Nothing like that. I promise you, I'm not married, I've never been married, and I've never committed any crimes, but my life is complicated in ways that are hard to explain. Maya's stomach tightened. That's not exactly reassuring. I know, and I want to tell you everything. I will tell you everything. But I need you to know that what we have, what's happening between us, that's real. I'm not pretending about my feelings for you, but you are pretending about something. Yates ran a hand through his hair, a gesture of frustration she had not seen before. My job is not exactly what I told you. It's not a lie, but it's not the complete picture either. So tell me the complete picture. I'm afraid if I do, it will change how you see me, how you see us. Maya stood up from the table, needing to move. Yates, we've been seeing each other for over a month. I have real feelings for you. But I can't be with someone who's hiding who they are. I know, you're right. He stood too, closing the distance between them. My name is Yates Zimmer. I don't work for an investment consulting firm, I own one. Actually, I own several companies. The firm is just one part of a much larger portfolio. Maya stared at him, processing. You own companies, multiple companies. Yes, so you're what, rich? Very, she laughed, a slightly hysterical sound. How rich are we talking? Forbes list rich, billionaire rich. The word hung in the air between them. Maya sank back into her chair, her legs suddenly unsteady. You're a billionaire. Yes. And you didn't think to mention this. I wanted you to know me as just Yates, not as my net worth or my business holdings. Every relationship I've ever had has been colored by money, by what people wanted from me or what they assumed about me because of it. When I met you, you looked at me like I was just a person. Do you know how rare that is? So you lied. I simplified. I told you I worked in investments, which is true. I just left out the scale. Maya pressed her hands against her temples, trying to organize her thoughts. I need you to leave. I need to think. Maya, please. No, you've had weeks to tell me the truth and you chose not to. I need time to process this. She could see the pain in his eyes, but he nodded and collected his coat. At the door, he turned back. For what it's worth, falling for you was the most real thing that's happened to me in years. I'm sorry I handled this wrong. After he left, Maya sat in her apartment, staring at her phone. Her fingers moved almost of their own accord, typing Yates Zimmer into the search engine. The results exploded across her screen. There he was, in countless articles and images. Yates Zimmer, founder and CEO of Zimmer Capital Management. Yates Zimmer at charity galas in tuxedos, shaking hands with politicians and celebrities. Yates Zimmer's net worth estimated at $3.7 billion. Yates Zimmer, one of the most eligible bachelors in America according to multiple magazines. Maya felt like she was looking at a stranger. The casual clothes, the easy smile, the man who had sat across from her in coffee shops and restaurants, that version of Yates seemed like an elaborate costume. This was who he really was. Someone who existed in a world so far removed from her own that they might as well be on different planets. Rachel came over within an hour of Maya's frantic phone call. She poured them both generous glasses of wine and listened while Maya explained everything. So your cute dating app match is actually a secret billionaire, Rachel summarized. And you're mad about this. Why exactly? He lied to me. Did he though? You said he told you he worked in investments. That's technically true. It's a lie by omission. He let me believe he was a normal guy with a normal job. Okay, I get that you're upset, but put yourself in his shoes for a second. How many women do you think go after him just for his money? He wanted to see if you'd like him for him. That's actually kind of romantic. Maya shook her head. It's manipulative. He took away my ability to make an informed choice about who I was getting involved with. Fair point. So what are you going to do? I don't know. I have real feelings for him, Rachel. These past weeks have been amazing. But how do I trust him now? What else hasn't he told me? Only one way to find out. You have to talk to him. Maya spent 2 days avoiding Yates's calls and messages before finally agreeing to meet him. She chose a public place, a park near the lake where they could walk and talk without the pressure of sitting across a table from each other. Yates was waiting on a bench when she arrived, and he stood immediately when he saw her. He looked tired, with shadows under his eyes that suggested he had not been sleeping well. "Thank you for agreeing to see me," he said. "I almost didn't." They started walking, keeping several feet between them. The February wind off the lake was bitter, and Maya pulled her coat tighter. "I've been trying to figure out how to explain," Yates began. "Growing up with money, you learn pretty quickly that people want something from you. As I got older and built my own wealth, it only got worse. Women who dated me because of what I could buy them, friends who were really networking contacts, people who saw dollar signs instead of a person. So you decided to lie to everyone you date, not lie. Just delay the full truth until I knew whether someone was interested in me or my bank account. I've been burned before, Maya. Badly. A woman I thought I loved, who I was about to propose to, turned out to be feeding information about my business dealings to a competitor. Another relationship ended when I overheard my girlfriend bragging to her friends about all the expensive gifts she was going to get from me. Maya felt a flicker of sympathy but pushed it down. That doesn't excuse deceiving me. You're right, it doesn't. But I need you to understand that what we built these past weeks, that was real. I wasn't pretending to care about you or to be interested in your work. I was just myself, without the weight of expectations and assumptions that usually come with my name. But I didn't get to be myself with all the information. You made decisions about our relationship based on things I didn't know. That's not fair, Yates. He stopped walking, turning to face her. You're absolutely right. I handled this badly. I should have told you sooner, especially as we got closer. I was scared of losing what we had, but by trying to protect it, I ended up jeopardizing it anyway. Maya studied his face, seeing genuine remorse there. If we were to move forward from this, and I'm not saying we are, things would have to be different. Complete honesty. No more omissions or simplified versions of the truth. I can do that. I want to do that. And I need to understand what dating a billionaire actually means. Because I'm guessing it's not just nicer restaurants and bigger apartments. Yates nodded slowly. There's security considerations, media attention sometimes, expectations from my business associates and board members. It can be a lot to handle. I work in a greenhouse, Yates. I make a comfortable living, but I'm not wealthy. Our lives are completely different. Does that matter to you? I don't know. I need time to figure that out. They walked in silence for a while, each lost in their own thoughts. Finally, Maya spoke again. I want to see your real life. Not the simplified version you showed me. If we're going to make this work, I need to understand who you actually are. Okay. What do you want to know? Everything. Where do you actually live? What does your day-to-day look like? What am I getting into here? Over the next hour, Yates painted a picture of his life that was both fascinating and overwhelming. He lived in a penthouse in one of Chicago's most exclusive buildings. His days involved managing a portfolio of companies worth billions, making decisions that affected thousands of employees, attending meetings and events that shaped markets and industries. He had a personal assistant, a driver, a security team that tracked his movements. It sounds exhausting, Maya said honestly. It can be. But it's also rewarding in its own way. I get to build things, create jobs, solve problems on a scale that can make a real difference. You enjoy it. Most days, it's what I'm good at, but it's also lonely. You're always wondering if people see you or just what you represent. Maya understood then what had drawn her to Yates in the first place. Underneath the wealth and success was someone fundamentally lonely, searching for genuine connection. She could relate to that. "I want to try," she said finally, "to make this work, but I need you to promise me complete honesty from here on out. I promise, no more secrets, and we take things slow. I need time to adjust to all of this. As slow as you need." They resumed their relationship cautiously, both of them more aware now of the challenges they faced. Yates invited Maya to his penthouse for the first time, and she felt overwhelmed by the sheer space and luxury. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city, artwork that belonged in museums hung on the walls, and the kitchen was bigger than her entire apartment. "This is where you live," Maya said, turning in a slow circle. "It's a place to sleep mostly. I'm not here that much." Yates came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "I'd rather be at your apartment, honestly. It feels more like a home. Because it's small and cluttered. Because it feels like you. This place is just expensive furniture and a nice view." They ordered takeout and ate on his ridiculously comfortable couch, and Maya started to see how Yates might feel isolated in this beautiful cage. For all its luxury, the penthouse felt empty and cold. As they grew more comfortable with each other again, Yates started introducing Maya to more of his world. She met his personal assistant, Rebecca, a sharp woman in her 40s who clearly ran Yates's life with military precision. She attended a business dinner with him, feeling out of place among the executives and entrepreneurs in their designer suits. But Yates kept her close, including her in conversations and making sure she felt valued. "You were amazing tonight," he said as they rode home in his car, the driver separated from them by a privacy screen. "I barely said anything. You were yourself. You didn't try to impress anyone or pretend to be someone you're not. That's more valuable than you know." But not every introduction went smoothly. Meeting Yates's father was a disaster. Harrison Zimmer was a stern man in his 70s who had built the foundation of the family fortune and clearly had strong opinions about how his son should live his life. "A botanist," Harrison said when Yates introduced Maya, his tone making it clear what he thought of her profession. How quaint. The dinner at Harrison's estate was excruciating. He peppered Maya with questions that felt more like interrogations, clearly trying to find evidence that she was a gold digger or unsuitable for his son. Yates grew increasingly tense beside her, his jaw tight. "Father, that's enough," Yates finally said when Harrison began asking pointed questions about Maya's family background and financial situation. "I'm simply getting to know the woman you've chosen to involve yourself with. Surely you can't object to that." "I object to the way you're doing it." Maya placed a hand on Yates's arm. "It's fine." "No, it's not." Yates stood, helping Maya up. "We're leaving, thank you for dinner." In the car, Yates was furious. "I'm sorry. I should have known he'd be like that. He's always been controlling and critical, but that was unacceptable. He doesn't think I'm good enough for you. His opinion doesn't matter. You're exactly who I want to be with." But Harrison's words echoed in Maya's head. What was she doing with a billionaire? Their worlds were so different. Could they really build something lasting across such a vast divide? Her doubts grew stronger when photos of them appeared in a gossip blog a week later. Someone had snapped pictures of them leaving a restaurant, and the accompanying article was filled with speculation about who Maya was and whether she was Yates's latest fling. "Botanical garden manager catches Chicago billionaire's eye," the headline read, and Maya felt sick reading the comments dissecting her appearance, her background, her worthiness. "I can have my lawyers shut this down," Yates offered when she showed him the article. "Can you, though? Is this just going to be my life now? Random people taking pictures of us and strangers judging me online. It will die down. I'm not that interesting to the media usually. This is just because I haven't been seen with anyone in a while." But more articles followed. More photos, more speculation. Someone dug up Maya's social media profiles and started commenting on posts from years ago. A few photographers even showed up at the botanical garden, trying to get pictures of her at work. "This is insane," Maya told Rachel over drinks. "I can't live like this." So talk to Yates. Tell him it's too much. But what can he do? He can't stop being who he is. No, but maybe he can help you figure out how to deal with it. You're not the first person to date someone famous or wealthy. There have to be strategies. Yates was immediately concerned when Maya brought up the media attention. "I should have prepared you better for this. I'm sorry. I can arrange for security if you're feeling unsafe." "I don't want security. I want my normal life back." "I know, but being with me means some things change." "Not everything, but some things. The question is whether what we have is worth those changes." Maya thought about it. Was it worth it? The media attention, the judgmental future father-in-law, the vast differences in their lifestyles. On paper, the answer seemed obvious. But when she looked at Yates, at the man who made her laugh and listened when she talked about her day and held her like she was the most precious thing in the world, the answer felt different. "I think it might be," she said softly. His relief was visible. "We'll figure it out together. I promise. And for what it's worth, you're handling all of this better than you think. Most people would have run by now. The thought has crossed my mind. But you're still here. I'm still here." They weathered the media storm together, and gradually, as Yates had predicted, interest in their relationship died down. There were bigger stories to chase, more scandalous relationships to dissect. Maya learned to be more careful about her privacy settings and to ignore the occasional photographer. More importantly, they learned how to blend their two very different worlds. Yates started volunteering at the botanical garden one Saturday a month, getting his hands dirty in the soil and genuinely enjoying the manual labor. Maya accepted his invitation to a charity gala, wearing a dress he had insisted on buying for her, and discovered she could hold her own in conversations with billionaires and celebrities. "You're a natural," Yates whispered as they danced, her in his arms in a ballroom that looked like something from a fairy tale. "I'm terrified I'm going to trip in these heels." "I won't let you fall." It was a promise that extended beyond the dance floor. As spring arrived, their relationship deepened. Maya met Yates's small circle of real friends, the people who had known him before he became a billionaire, and she saw sides of him she had not known existed. He was playful and competitive during game nights, passionate when discussing social causes he funded, vulnerable when talking about his mother's death. She introduced him to her parents during their visit in April, nervous about how they would react to learning their daughter was dating a billionaire. But her father, a pragmatic man who had taught high school math for 30 years, simply said, "Does he treat you well?" When Maya nodded, her father shook Yates's hand and said, "That's all that matters then." Her mother pulled her aside in the kitchen. "He looks at you like you hung the moon, sweetheart. That's the important thing. Not the money or the fancy life. Just that he loves you." "I think I love him too, Mom." "I know you do. I can see it all over your face." By May, they had settled into a comfortable rhythm. Maya spent most nights at Yates's penthouse, bringing warmth and life to the space with plants and personal touches. Yates had a corner of the botanical garden's main office where he often worked, enjoying the proximity to her during the day. "I have something to show you," Yates said one Saturday morning. "Can you take the day off?" He drove them out of the city into the suburbs, eventually pulling up to a beautiful property with sprawling grounds. The house was stunning, a perfect blend of modern and classic architecture, but what caught Maya's attention was the property itself. Mature trees, extensive gardens, and a large greenhouse that looked professionally maintained. "What is this place?" Maya asked, walking through the gardens with wonder. It was owned by a couple who were serious gardeners. They recently moved to be closer to their grandchildren and put the property on the market. Yates watched her face carefully. "I thought you might like to see it." Maya explored every inch of the property, from the greenhouse with its sophisticated irrigation system to the flower beds waiting to be filled with spring plantings. It was perfect, exactly the kind of space she had dreamed about but never thought she could afford. "Yates, this is incredible, but why are we here?" He took her hand, pulling her close. "I've been thinking about the future, about us. My penthouse is convenient for work, but it's not a home. Not really. This place could be, though, with the right person." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I love you, Maya Foster. I think I've loved you since that first coffee date when you explained the life cycle of orchids with so much passion I couldn't look away. I'm saying I want to build a life with you, a real life, not just stolen moments between our separate worlds. I'm saying I want to buy this house and make it ours if you'll have me." Maya felt tears prick her eyes. "You love me, completely, entirely. Do you think you could love me back, knowing everything you know now about my life and all its complications?" "I already do. I think I have for a while." They kissed in the garden, surrounded by flowers and possibility. When they broke apart, Yates pulled out his phone and made a call. "Rebecca, make an offer on the property, whatever it takes." He looked at Maya, grinning. "We're buying a house." The next few months were a whirlwind of activity. Yates purchased the property within a week, and they spent their weekends planning renovations and deciding how to decorate. Maya insisted on maintaining some of her independence, continuing to work at the botanical garden despite Yates's suggestion that she could consult or start her own business. "I like my job," she told him firmly. "I'm not giving it up just because you can afford to support us both. I respect that. I just want you to know you have options." They compromised on many things, learning how to navigate their different backgrounds and expectations. Maya became more comfortable with the luxury that came with Yates's wealth. While he learned to appreciate the simpler pleasures she introduced him to, like farmers' market Saturdays and movie nights at home. Meeting his business associates and board members was still challenging, but Maya grew more confident in those settings. She realized she brought value to Yates's life in ways that had nothing to do with business or money. She grounded him, reminded him of priorities beyond profit margins and stock prices. "You make me a better person," Yates told her one evening as they sat in their new house, boxes still scattered around waiting to be unpacked. "I was so focused on building and achieving that I forgot to actually live. You brought joy back into my life." "You did the same for me," Maya said, curling into his side. "I was so afraid of getting hurt again that I had stopped trying. You made me brave enough to take the risk." In August, Yates arranged for them to spend a week at his lake house in Michigan, not far from where Maya's parents lived. The property was beautiful, all natural wood and huge windows overlooking the water. They spent lazy days swimming and reading, cooking meals together, and talking for hours about everything and nothing. On their last evening there, Yates suggested a sunset boat ride. Maya grabbed a sweater and followed him down to the dock where a small sailboat waited. She had not known he could sail, but he handled the boat with easy confidence, guiding them out onto the calm water as the sun began to set. "This is perfect," Maya said, trailing her hand in the cool water. "I don't want to go back to reality tomorrow. What if we could make this our reality?" Yates adjusted the sail, positioning them in the middle of the lake where the sunset painted everything gold and pink. "I mean, I have to work, and so do you." "Yes, but we choose how we structure our lives. I've been thinking about scaling back some of my obligations. I have good people running most of my companies. I don't need to be involved in every decision. We could spend more time at the lake, travel when you have breaks from work, build the life we actually want instead of the life we think we should have." "You'd really do that? Step back from work?" "For you, for us, absolutely." He secured the sail and moved to sit beside her. "Maya, these past 8 months with you have been the happiest of my life. You've shown me what matters, what's real. I don't want to waste any more time." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Maya's heart started racing. "I know we said we'd take things slow," Yates continued, opening the box to reveal a stunning ring, an emerald surrounded by diamonds that caught the sunset light. "But I'm done being cautious when I already know what I want. Maya Foster, will you marry me?" Maya looked at the ring, at Yates's hopeful face, at the beautiful scene around them. 8 months ago, she had been alone on her balcony, making a resolution to find love. She had never imagined it would lead here, to a billionaire proposing on a lake at sunset. But more than that, she had never imagined finding someone who saw her so completely, who loved her so thoroughly. "Yes," she said, laughing through happy tears. "Yes, I'll marry you." Yates slipped the ring on her finger and kissed her as the sun dipped below the horizon. They stayed on the water long after dark, wrapped in each other's arms, planning their future together. The engagement brought another wave of media attention, but Maya was better equipped to handle it this time. She gave one carefully crafted interview where she talked about their relationship in terms that satisfied public curiosity, without revealing anything too personal. Mostly, people seemed happy for them, charmed by the story of a botanical garden manager finding love with a billionaire on a dating app. Planning the wedding became a negotiation between what Maya wanted and what was expected of someone in Yates's position. His father pushed for a large society wedding with hundreds of guests from the business world. Maya wanted something intimate and personal. In the end, they compromised on a medium-sized wedding of about 100 people, held in the gardens of their new home. "It's our wedding," Yates reminded his father firmly when Harrison tried to object. "We'll celebrate how we choose." Maya's best friend Rachel served as maid of honor, crying happy tears through the entire ceremony. Yates's childhood friend Marcus was his best man, cracking jokes that helped lighten the formal atmosphere. Maya's parents beamed from the front row, while Harrison Zimmer watched with an expression that might have been approval, though it was hard to tell. But none of that mattered when Maya walked down the garden path in her simple, elegant dress, flowers woven through her hair, and saw Yates waiting for her. The love and awe on his face made everything else fade away. This was what mattered. The two of them, choosing each other, committing to build a life together. "You're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen," Yates whispered when she reached him. "You're not so bad yourself," she whispered back, making him laugh. They exchanged vows they had written themselves, promising to support each other's dreams, to maintain honesty even when it was difficult, to choose love over fear. When the officiant pronounced them married, Yates cupped Maya's face in his hands and kissed her like they were the only two people in the world. The reception was magical. Dinner served under twinkling lights strung through the trees, dancing on the lawn as the summer evening turned to night. Maya caught Rachel's eye across the dance floor and mouthed, "Thank you for pushing her to join that dating app all those months ago." Their honeymoon was 3 weeks in Italy, a perfect blend of luxury and adventure. Yates took her to five-star restaurants and exclusive venues, but also to tiny family-owned trattorias and local markets. They explored gardens and historical sites, rented a villa in Tuscany, and spent lazy days cooking together and making love in sun-drenched rooms. "I could get used to this," Maya said, lounging by the pool with a glass of wine, the Italian countryside spreading out before them. "Good thing you married rich then," Yates teased, and she splashed water at him. But it was more than the luxury that made the honeymoon special. It was the time together without obligations or distractions, getting to be simply Maya and Yates, newlyweds exploring the world. They talked about the future, about when they might want children, about how to balance their careers and personal life. "I want everything with you," Yates said one night as they sat on their villa's terrace, watching stars emerge in the darkening sky. "A family, adventures, quiet Saturday mornings, all of it." "We have time," Maya assured him. "But yes, I want that too, all of it." When they returned to Chicago, reality set in with work obligations and daily routines. But their house provided a sanctuary, a place where they could escape the demands of Yates's business world and simply be themselves. Maya filled the greenhouse with exotic plants, some for her own experiments and some just because she found them beautiful. Yates learned to cook, taking classes so he could surprise his wife with homemade meals. Their first year of marriage had its challenges. They disagreed about how involved Maya should be in Yates's business obligations, with him wanting to protect her from the more tedious aspects, while she felt shut out of an important part of his life. They fought about household decisions and family obligations, learning how to argue constructively and find compromises. But they also discovered the deep satisfaction of building a life together. Maya was there when Yates made the difficult decision to sell one of his companies, providing emotional support through the stressful negotiations. Yates surprised Maya by funding a new conservation program at the botanical garden in her grandmother's name, understanding how much it would mean to her. Their second year brought new developments. Maya was promoted to Director of Operations at the Botanical Garden, a role that came with more responsibility but also more fulfillment. Yates successfully transitioned several of his companies to new leadership, freeing up his time without sacrificing the businesses he had built. "I've been thinking," Maya said one evening in early December as they decorated a Christmas tree in their living room, "about what comes next for us." "What are you thinking?" She took his hand and placed it on her still flat stomach. "I'm thinking maybe it's time to grow our family." Yates's eyes widened. "Are you saying what I think you're saying? I'm pregnant. About 8 weeks." He picked her up and spun her around, laughing with pure joy. When he set her down, his eyes were wet with tears. "We're having a baby." "We're having a baby," Maya confirmed, crying too. The pregnancy was smooth, and Yates was attentive to the point of being overprotective. He read every parenting book he could find, asked Maya's doctor hundreds of questions, and started preparing a nursery months before it was needed. Maya found his enthusiasm endearing, even when it became a bit much. "I'm pregnant, not made of glass," she reminded him when he tried to prevent her from lifting anything heavier than a coffee cup. "I know. I just want to take care of you. You are. But you also need to let me live my life." They found their balance, and as Maya's belly grew, so did their excitement. They spent evenings discussing names and parenting philosophies, painting the nursery together, and imagining the child they would soon meet. Their daughter was born in early August, a healthy baby girl with Yates's blue eyes and Maya's dark hair. They named her Rose after Maya's grandmother. Holding his daughter for the first time, Yates cried openly. "She's perfect," he whispered. "You're both perfect." The first few months of parenthood were exhausting and overwhelming, but also filled with moments of pure magic. Late-night feedings turned into bonding time for Yates and Rose, and Maya watched her billionaire husband become completely undone by a tiny baby's smile. Yates scaled back his work even more, determined to be an involved father. Maya took parental leave from the botanical garden, savoring the time at home with their daughter. They muddled through sleepless nights and diaper changes, learning together how to care for this new life they had created. "I never imagined this," Yates said one afternoon when Rose was about 4 months old. They were in the garden, Rose sleeping peacefully in her stroller while Maya and Yates worked on the fall planting. "A life like this, a family. No, I thought I'd always be alone in the ways that mattered. That my wealth would always be a barrier to real connection." He looked at Maya, love shining in his eyes. "You proved me wrong. You saw me, not my bank account. You chose me for me." "And you chose me," Maya said, leaning over to kiss him. A botanist who had given up on finding love. "Thank God you made that New Year's resolution. Thank God you joined that dating app." Rose stirred, making soft baby sounds, and they both smiled. Their daughter was growing up in a home filled with love, with parents who chose each other every day, who worked through challenges together, who built something real and lasting. Over the next few years, their life continued to evolve. Rose grew into a curious, energetic toddler who loved helping her mother in the greenhouse and listening to her father read bedtime stories. Maya returned to work part-time, finding fulfillment in both her career and her family. Yates continued to be successful in business, but defined his success more by the time he spent with his family than by the zeros in his bank account. They had a second child, a son they named Henry, and watched their family grow. The house that had once seemed so large filled with toys and laughter, with fingerprints on windows and plants that Rose insisted on helping water, often drowning them with enthusiasm. Harrison Zimmer softened as he became a grandfather, showing his grandchildren a warmth he had never shown his own son. Maya watched Yates reconcile with his father, not forgetting past hurts, but choosing to build something better for the future. On their 5th wedding anniversary, Yates recreated their first date, arranging for them to have an evening away from the kids. They returned to that same small coffee shop in Lincoln Park, sitting at the same corner table. "You remember what you were thinking when I walked through that door?" Yates asked, holding Maya's hand across the table. "I was thinking you were handsome, and I was nervous, and I hoped I wouldn't say anything stupid. You were perfect. You talked about your grandmother's garden and your eyes lit up, and I thought I could listen to you talk forever." "And now you're stuck listening to me forever," Maya teased. "Best decision I ever made, swiping right on your profile." Maya thought back to that New Year's Eve, standing alone on her balcony, deciding to take a chance on finding love. She had been scared and uncertain, convinced she was setting herself up for another disappointment. She could never have imagined where that simple resolution would lead, not to the money or the luxury, though those things had their own appeal, but to this. A partner who loved her completely, who supported her dreams while building their own together. Children who were growing up surrounded by love and security, a life that blended their two worlds into something uniquely theirs. "What are you thinking about?" Yates asked, stroking his thumb across her knuckles. "How lucky I am. How scared I was to download that dating app and how it led me to you. I'm the lucky one. You took a chance on a guy who was lying about being a billionaire. You weren't lying exactly, just omitting certain details. Still, you could have walked away when you found out the truth. A lot of people would have." "I almost did," Maya admitted. "It was overwhelming. But then I realized that underneath all the money and complications was someone I genuinely loved, someone who loved me back. That was worth fighting for. They left the coffee shop and walked through the city, hand in hand, talking and laughing like they had that first evening. But now they had years of shared history, of challenges overcome and joys celebrated. They knew each other's habits and quirks, the way Yates always made the bed military tight, and how Maya left plant identification books scattered throughout the house. They had seen each other at their worst and loved each other anyway. Back at home, their children were sleeping peacefully, watched over by Maya's parents who had been delighted to babysit. Maya and Yates checked on each of them, pausing to kiss soft foreheads and adjust blankets. In their own bedroom, Yates pulled Maya close, swaying gently even though there was no music. "Thank you," he whispered into her hair. "For what? For taking that chance. For downloading that app. For swiping right. For giving me a chance to prove that what we had was real. For building this life with me." "Thank you for seeing me," Maya whispered back. "For making me feel loved and valued every single day. For being an amazing husband and father. For being exactly who I needed." They held each other in the darkness. Two people who had found each other against the odds. A botanist who had almost given up on love and a billionaire who had hidden his identity. Brought together by a New Year's resolution and a dating app, building something that would last a lifetime. Outside, snow began to fall softly, covering the gardens in white. Inside, their family slept peacefully, safe and warm and loved. And Maya knew that no matter what challenges came, they would face them together. Because underneath all the external circumstances, the money and media and complications, they had what mattered most. They had each other and they had love. And that was enough. Years later, when Rose was old enough to ask how her parents met, Maya and Yates would tell her the story. About a New Year's resolution and a dating app, about a man who simplified the truth and a woman who chose to see beyond it, about taking risks and building trust and choosing love over fear. "So you met Dad on your phone?" Rose would ask, wrinkling her nose. "I did," Maya would confirm. "Sometimes the best things come from the most unexpected places. And he was secretly rich the whole time, he was, but that's not why I fell in love with him." "Why did you then?" Maya would look at Yates, still finding wonder in the fact that this was her life, this was her family. "Because he saw me, really saw me, and I saw him too, the real him, underneath everything else. That's what love is, sweetheart, seeing someone completely and choosing them anyway." Rose would think about this seriously, then nod. "I want to find that someday." "You will," Yates would assure her. "When you're much, much older. Not until you're at least 30. And they would all laugh, this family built on a chance encounter and a willingness to be vulnerable. They would laugh and love and build their life together day by day, year by year. A life that started with a New Year's resolution and led to everything Maya had ever wanted but been too afraid to hope for. A life filled with love in all its complicated, messy, beautiful glory. And that was more than enough. That was everything.